In Long Beach right now, a well-positioned house in Los Altos can feel like a one-week market, while a condo in downtown Long Beach can turn into a 36-day waiting game. One side of this city still feels like buyers are stretching just to get a seat at the table. The other feels like your listing is sitting on a crowded shelf while leverage slips a little more every week. And if you make a move based on the city averages instead of your actual neighborhood and property type, that can get really expensive really fast. That's the trap I want to help you avoid today. There is no such thing as the Long Beach market in the way most homeowners use that phrase. There are micro markets and they are operating under a completely different laws of physics. One lane is still moving like musical chairs. Another has turned into a grueling comparison market where buyers have enough choice to slow the whole transaction down. So if selling is even on your radar over the next 3 to 6 months, the real question is not, should I sell this year? The real question is, which version of Long Beach am I actually living in? Because the answer changes your timing, your stress level, your price risk, and how much regret you carry if you wait. You can feel this split physically. In one part of town, the sign goes up, the driveway starts filling, the first weekend matters, and the decision is made fast. In another part of town, especially in the denser condo corridors, the elevator ride becomes part of the competition. Buyers tour your units, then 2 more in the same building, then 1 more down the street, then they go home and compare HOA dues, parking, light noise, and holding costs like they are sorting tabs on a laptop. Same city, very different loss of motion. That is the mission of this breakdown. I want to help you practice regret minimization with real numbers, not citywide averages, and I want to translate those numbers into how this market actually feels on the ground as of April 2026, with the latest monthly read running through March. Right now, the leverage meter is brutally uneven. Los Altos is at 1.4 months for single-family homes. Belmont Heights is at 1.8. Dorado Park is at 1.7. Bixby Knolls is at 2.3. North Long Beach is at 2. Meanwhile, downtown Long Beach condos are at 6.5 months. Belmont Heights condos have jumped to 5.8. Central Long Beach condos are sitting at 5.4. That is why the city average is a trap. The city story is being carried by a few strong single-family engines and weighed down by much heavier condo shelves. That also means the citywide conversation is being distorted by a few dominant drivers. On the house side, Los Altos is a major engine with 72.7 million in closed volume in 1 month. Belmont Shore contributes another 64.9 million. Bixby Knolls adds 50.9 million. On the condo side, downtown Long Beach dominates the conversation simply because it has so much inventory and transaction flow. If you just hear Long Beach is doing this, you are usually hearing the loudest neighborhoods drown out the most relevant ones, yours. And real quick, if this kind of breakdown is helpful, hit that like and subscribe button. I do these updates for Long Beach homeowners just like you who want the real neighborhood level picture, not just the same generic headline everyone else is repeating. So if you want more of that, subscribe. And if you're not quite ready to hop on a call with me, that's exactly why I've got HomeBot in the description. It's an easy place to start if you just want a clearer read on your equity, your mortgage, and what your options look like right now. I'm Hernandez, your personal real estate advisor here in Long Beach, and my job is not to hand you a broad market headline and hope it fits. My job is to help you map the exact lane your home is living in, because your outcome is going to be shaped by your neighborhood, your property type, and the buyer psychology attached to that exact combination. So here's where I'm taking you. First, the house markets where speed and scarcity still create clean leverage. Then the neighborhoods where prices are real, but payments are starting to act like a ceiling. Then the condo and townhome markets, where choice is doing a lot more of the talking. After that, I'll connect it to rates, the Fed, the job backdrop, and the projects that could reshape how supply feels over the next year. Let's start with the part of the market that still feels like a fast-moving driveway conversation. Los Altos is the clearest scarcity engine in Long Beach right now. The median sales price is $1,133,000. Homes are moving in 11 days. Inventory has tightened to 1.4 months. There are 31 active listings, 15 new listings, and 17 pendings. That is what I call a drain faster than the faucet market. More homes are going under contract than are arriving. On the ground, that feels like families watching for the right backyard, the right layout, the right street, and then moving quickly because they know the next clean option may not show up soon. That is not hype, it is basic flow math. Belmont Heights is even more precise. The median sales price came in at $1,075,000. The price per square foot was $794. Homes moved in 7 days and supply stayed at 1.8 months. Sellers got 100% of original list and 100% of last list. list. That is a market with almost no fat in it. I think of this as a 1-week truth market. Either the house lands with buyers immediately or the market is telling you something fast. It feels surgical, not frantic, surgical. The good listings do not drift. Bixby Knolls has one of the cleanest pricing signals in the city. The median sales price reached $1,120,000. Days on market were 12. Supply was 2.3 months. Sellers received 100.9% of the original list and 100.9% of the last list. That combination matters because it means the opening price is not getting chewed up on the way to the finish line. I call that launch integrity. The market is not asking sellers to backpedal if the house is positioned correctly from the start. What that feels like in real life is front yards, porches, and mature streets where the first weekend still carries real power, but only if the house comes out polished and believable. El Dorado Park is also tight, but it has a little more room to breathe than the pure sprint pockets. The median sales price was $1,100,000. Homes took 21 days to move. Supply was 1.7 months. There were 39 actives, 28 new listings, and 19 pendings. So yes, there is still scarcity, but there is also enough inventory for buyers to compare a little harder before they commit. I call this controlled urgency. The market is still short of options, but not so short that presentation mistakes get hidden. Buyers are measuring the floor plan, the updates, the yard, and the monthly payment very carefully. North Long Beach is one of the strongest value-driven house markets in the city. The median sales price was $712,500. Price per square foot was $621. Days on market held at 17. Supply was just 2 months, and sellers got 100% of the original list and 100.3% of the last list. That tells you this is still a real competition lane because it sits at a price point that remains reachable for more households than the coastal and east side $1 million tiers. It feels like buyers chasing the house they can still make work, not the house they actually admire. That creates real firmness. Now here's the trap in all of these faster house markets. Strong leverage does not mean limitless leverage. It does not mean you can take a good market and try to bully it. The best way to waste a strong market is to mistake scarcity for immunity. Buyers are still rate sensitive. They are still payment sensitive. They are still comparing. A hot lane does not rescue a lazy launch. Now let me move into the part of the city where the market is still active, still valuable, but the monthly payment is becoming the invisible hand on the steering wheel. Belmont Shore single family is the most expensive and most emotionally seductive house market in the city this month. The median sales price reached $1,925,000. The price per square foot was $943. Days on market fell to 12. Supply moved up to 3.7 months. There were 47 active listings, 24 new listings, and 8 pendings. That combination creates what I call the luxury filter. Beautiful coastal inventory still moves, but the buyer pool is narrower because the payment is punishing and luxury buyers are selective when they write checks that large. What this feels like on the ground is a market where the right home gets immediate attention, while the merely expensive home sits there hoping its view and zip code do all the work. Eastside is a classic payment ceiling market right now. The median sales price was $925,500. The price per square foot was $706. Days on market jumped to 37. Supply climbed to 3.8 months. Sellers received 98.4% of the original list and 99.1% of the last list. Pending slipped to 2. This is not a dead market. It is a market with friction. It is the kind of place where a listing gets traffic, maybe even praise, but not commitment because buyers walk back to the curb and they reopen the monthly payment math on their phones. I call that checkbook gravity. The house can be attractive, but the financing can still pull the whole decision back to earth. West Long Beach is drifting into an even more selective rhythm. The median sales price was $768,000. Days on market stretched to 29. Supply rose to 2.2 months. There were 15 active listings, 9 new listings, and just 1 pending. Sellers who closed still got 100% of the original and last list, but the pending count is the part you need to respect. Closings tell you what happened to the homes that made it through. Pendings tell you what is happening right now. And right now, West Long Beach feels like a conversation market, not a rush market. More waiting, more second guessing, more nights where the seller wonders whether silence means patience or weakness. Central Long Beach is one of the trickiest reads of the whole city because the the headline numbers and the underlying depth are not saying the same thing. The median sales price was $620,000. Homes moved in 10 days. Sellers got 101.7% of the original and last list. At first glance, that sounds explosive, but supply was 5.5 months. There were 13 active listings, 4 new listings, 1 pending, and just 2 closings. I call that ghost leverage. A couple of aggressive outcomes can make a thin market look stronger than it really is. The properties that work can move fast. The broader market still does not have deep enough demand to make that a universal rule. Downtown Long Beach single family is too thin to speak with the same confidence as the rest of the city. There were 7 active listings, 5 new listings, 1 pending, no closed sales, and 4.3 months of supply. That does not give me a stable closing picture. It gives me a caution light. If you own one of the rare downtown single family homes, this is one of those moments where neighborhood averages stop being useful and property level strategy becomes everything. So by the time you zoom out from the houses alone, Long Beach is already telling a complicated story. Some pockets are still scarce enough to punish delay, some are active but capped by payment, some flash strong numbers without broad depth underneath them. That is why houses are doing well is not an analysis, it is camouflage. Now let's move into the condo and townhome side, because this is where the city really starts splitting into different emotional realities. Downtown Long Beach is the clearest condo comparison market in Long Beach. The median sales price was $526,500. Price per square foot was $610. Days on market stretched to 36. Supply expanded to 6.5 months. There were 156 active listings, 52 new listings, and 17 pendings. Sellers got 100% of the last list, but only 98.8% of the original list. That gap tells the whole story. I call this shelf competition. Buyers are not refusing downtown, they are simply surrounded by options. They can move building to building, stack to stack, floor plan to floor plan, and keep comparing until something blinks. What that feels like for a seller is exhausting. Keeping the unit clean, watching another listing hit the building, wondering whether your problem is price, parking, dues, or just too many alternatives. Belmont Heights condos are one of the most revealing transitional stories in the city. Inventory jumped from 16 to 24 in 1 month. Supply went from 3.6 to 5.8 months. New listings were 9, but pendings were only 1. And yet, the condo that did close in March moved in 14 days. That is why I call this a cleared fast, stacked later market. The good units that come out clean found buyers, but the broader shelf got heavier behind them. If you only look at the 14-day closing pace, you miss the future pressure building inside the active inventory. Belmont Shore condos are premium, but not frictionless. The median sales price was $735,000. Price per square foot was $763. Days on market came in at 15. Supply held at 4 months. Sellers landed at 99.1% of the original list and 99.6% of the last list. That is still respectable, but the premium is not automatic. Coastal condo buyers are choosy. They compare light, noise, stairs, parking, HOA strength, and whether the unit actually feels like coastal living or just carries the billing for it. Eastside condos are one of the steadier condo REITs in Long Beach. The median sales price was $477,500. The price per square foot was $545. Days on market were just 9. Supply was 3.9 months. Sellers got 100% of the original and last list, and 12 units closed. That is what I call a clean lane. Not frantic, not sluggish, clean. Buyers are still transacting without much drama when the unit is right, which makes this one of the more functional condo segments in the city. North Long Beach condos are a different kind of value lane. The median sales price was $365,250. The price per square foot was $465. Days on market were 22. Supply was 3.9 months. Sellers hit 98.9% of the original list and 100.7% of the last list. That suggests some initial price sensitivity, then firming once the right number was found. What that feels like is practical comparison. These buyers are looking at the total carrying cost, the functionality of the space, and the affordability of ownership. It is not a romance market. It is a utility market. Los Altos condos are relatively balanced, but they are not riding the coattails of the single-family strength around them. The median sales price was $480,000. The price per square foot was $632. Days on market were 17. Supply moved up to 3.1 months. There were 7 17 active listings, 8 new listings, and 3 pendings. That is a quieter condo pace than the house side in the same neighborhood. The lesson there is simple. A strong house market next door does not automatically turn every attached product into a sprint. Bixby Knolls condos are smaller in inventory, but they still tell a useful story. The median sales price was $597,500. Days on market were 20. Supply was 2.4 months. Sellers received 97.8% of the original list and 100.7% of the last list. I read that as selective demand with course correction. The wrong opening number still gets trimmed. The right final number still gets met. In a low inventory condo market like this, buyers do not have endless options, but they still punish a lazy first ask. Central Long Beach condos are frankly stalled. There were 20 active listings, 7 new listings, no pendings, no closings, and 5.4 months of supply. That is not a healthy comparison market. That is a waiting room. If a market has no pendings and no closings, you are not looking at a negotiation environment. You are looking at inertia. West Long Beach condos are too thin to make a strong median-based call. There were 3 active listings, 2 new listings, no pendings, and no closings. Dorado Park condos have the same problem in a different form. There were no active inventory and no closed sales signal to build a stable April read. Those are the moments where the spreadsheet runs out of the road and individual property reality takes over. And then there is one more thin sample issue worth mentioning. The condo markets in El Dorado Park and West Long Beach simply do not have enough recent closing depth to treat them like broad, reliable stories. When the sample gets that thin, one out sale can distort the whole picture. That is exactly when confidence should go up, not down. And that's exactly why I keep saying the citywide headline is not enough. If this is helping you think through your own situation a little more clearly, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. It helps me keep making these Long Beach updates, and it helps more local homeowners just like you find them when they're trying to make a smart decision. And if you want help figuring out which lane your specific address is in, book a one-on-one strategy session with me. I'm happy to walk you through it with you. And if you're not ready for that call just yet, not a problem. Start with HomeBot in the description, get a feel for your numbers, and then come back to the decision with a lot more clarity. Now let's zoom out, but only briefly because macro matters here only to the extent that it changes the buyer standing in front of your home. As of April 2nd, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.46%. The Fed held its target range in March with a midpoint of 3.625%, and its year-end projection still points to roughly 3.4%, which is another way of saying relief is not arriving quickly. On top of that, payrolls fell by 92,000 in February, while the affordability index improved to 117.6% in February before April's rate uptick started biting again. In plain English, buyers are still out there, but their payment tolerance is narrow, their confidence is more fragile, and the market is not likely to rescue an overpriced listing with a sudden wave of easy money. That especially matters in the payment ceiling neighborhoods and the larger condo shelves. Now for the part people ignore until it is suddenly visible on the street. Long Beach has approved more than 5,000 homes over the last 3 years, a 147% jump over prior periods. And several 2026 projects are no longer abstract. AMCAL Linden Apartments is expected to bring 99 affordable homes near downtown Long Beach. Fountain Street Apartments is expected to add 72 affordable rentals near East Side and the traffic circle. A development at 1401 Long Beach Boulevard adds 151 apartments. The Armory Arts Collective adds roughly 63 to 64 apartments for older adults. Habitat for Humanity is bringing 8 detached townhomes to North Long Beach, and the Belmont Beach and Aquatic Center plus the Studebaker Road transformation are reinforcing the amenity and mobility story near the coastal and east side. That creates what I call the supply shadow. It does not mean every block changes overnight. It means buyers start pricing in what the next chapter of the city may look like. More units in the urban core, more activity around Long Beach Boulevard, more housing pressure relief in certain corridors, more long-run amenity supports near Belmont Shore in the east side, more family infrastructure near the West Side Promise Initiative. It is a slow-moving background force, but it matters. And here is why. First, the city is adding housing and civic infrastructure at the same time. Second, that means some neighborhoods are getting more future competition while others are getting stronger long-term amenity stories. And finally, the ground zero is tangible. More cranes and density near downtown Long Beach and Long Beach Boulevard, more development pressure near East Side, more stabilization in North Long Beach, and that brings me to the central conflict in this market. It is today's leverage versus tomorrow's supply shadow. Some single-family neighborhoods still give you a clean runway right now. Some condo neighborhoods are already dealing with too much comparison, and if you do nothing, that is still a decision. It means another season of carrying costs, another round of payment-sensitive buyers, and maybe another layer of competing inventory if your lane gets heavier before you move. So how do you play your cards in this market? You stop guessing from the city average. You stop assuming your property is behaving like another neighborhood with a completely different price point, buyer pool, and inventory shelf. And you get clear on whether your home is sitting in a scarcity lane, a ceiling lane, or a comparison lane. If you're thinking about selling in the next 3 to 6 months and you want real clarity on your timing, your pricing, and the leverage around your specific home, book a one-on-one strategy session with me using the link below. I'll help you map out the clearest path based on your neighborhood, your property type, and the market you're actually standing in. And if you're not ready for a conversation yet, use HomeBot in the description first. That way you can start with something practical, get a clearer picture of your position, and come back to the decision with a lot more confidence. Because as of April 2026, Long Beach is not one market. It is a city of different speeds, different shelves, and different risk profiles. My job is to help you figure out which market your home is actually in before you make a move you regret. I'm Hernandez, and I'll see you in the next video.